Just 4 years ago, I used to be invisible. I was caught in cycles of stress and shame with virtue signaling. I strived for validation outside of myself. I was performing for approval. I was so afraid of having conflict that I held none of my own opinions with conviction. I hid under layers of secondhand clothes. I was nitpicky, anxiously attached. I played small and I exhausted myself terribly by being busy all the time. I was melancholic and I was terribly naive. Now I'm so much more myself. I'm joyful, present, expressive. I'm playful with how I dress. I'm supported and certain. I'm structured and strong. I'm surrendered to what I can't control and I am trusting of my design. I understand that my time and energy are two of the most valuable things on earth. And the key difference between who I used to be and who I am today is that I began following the spirit and walking in it over the flesh. It is a choice because through all of this trial and error, what I really learned was what my core values are, how to make decisions according to those alone. I became aligned with what I was born to do and stopped looking outside of myself for validation or approval. I chose beauty for beauty's sake. And I gave up the lies and deceit, and I saw the truth. I closed the gap between who I thought I was and who I really am. Authenticity does not mean that you're now performing, it rather means being more present. Authenticity means that you're more of who you are, not more of who somebody else tells you you need to be in order to be feminine, but rather, who am I as a feminine woman? This is Authenticity 101, my transformation from invisible to irresistible. Welcome to the heart of the matter, where today is the first, last, only, and best day of our entire lives. I am Julia, a feminine virtue and vitality coach. I teach you more of the truth from the Bible, more of that wisdom that is biological, not having to seek always outside of yourself that wholeness that you already have within. Subscribe to the newsletter below where you can very soon find out more about the Goodbye Good Girl course. Now let's start with the signs that you're not being authentic, because this was me and I know this is a lot of women out there. If you say yes out of obligation, not alignment, if you feel drained after social interactions, if you shapeshift to fit in or avoid conflict, if you fear being misunderstood or rejected, like it means anything about you, if you feel disconnected from your desires or needs, if you're constantly seeking external validation, if you struggle to hear or trust your intuition, which is massive, and if you second guess your emotions or apologize for your boundaries. A 2021 study in the Journal of Counseling Psychology found that inauthentic living is strongly associated with emotional exhaustion, anxiety, and depression. We know that inauthenticity fragments our energy. Inauthenticity creates tension between your soul and your survival strategies, leaving you feeling invisible, resentful, and stuck. That's the real need for authenticity and why you're here to claim it today. It's not oversharing for attention or approval. It's not using the "this is just who I am" to avoid growth. It's not making others uncomfortable to prove your realness. And it's not emotionally reacting instead of consciously responding. It's about how you do things, not just what you do. Brené Brown says that authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Authenticity is living in alignment with your values and truth, speaking from inner clarity, not performance, allowing your full range of emotions, choosing honesty with kindness and discernment, and feeling safe and solid in your inner authority. So, the first thing you want to do to become more authentic is audit your life for inner alignment. Make a list of the 5 things in your life that feel most off. Ask yourself, where am I pretending? Who am I trying to please? What do I keep quiet to avoid rocking the boat? Perhaps you can choose one area to start telling the truth in, just in small ways, and to grow that confidence. If you're wanting to say no without guilt, check out this video. Alignment is a massive part of who we are that keeps us in integrity. What I've known it to be in the past is for our thoughts, our feelings, our words, and our deeds to be in alignment so that the result is always the same, and this can be repeated. But further than that, alignment is actually who we are at our core. It is our essence. It is the reason why we have power when we walk into a room and heads turn and people know who we are just by hearing our name. They want to be friends with us. Alignment is what allows this to happen. While those components are the bare bones of alignment, I've created a visual to really see how those thoughts are the intention with which we approach everything. Those feelings are the intuition that we have when something is true. Following through the thought and feeling with word and deed is actually the integrity with which we can then create impact with our results. Because when we hear what God has to say to us about what we next need to do and are obedient, He will see that we are someone who listens to what He says. This is being in touch with your intuition, by the way. You can check out this video to be closer to it. And then God will give us even more opportunity to be in alignment in a larger way, and that will gift us momentum. So once we're in motion in our own world with what we desire, He grants us the momentum. And it's a magic way to see how life is serving us and working for us, all through that alignment. You might have heard the Nikola Tesla quote that to understand the secrets of the universe, you need to see things in terms of frequency and vibration. Every single emotion has a vibration. The more negative and dense the emotion is, the slower the wave gets. When we reach the state of joy and bliss and love, the rate at which that emotion vibrates, at which the wave goes, is actually way faster. So becoming authentic is actually aligning with yourself and your needs and your desires in a way that you are returning to who you were before shame or rejection of who you are told you to hide. If I ask you what the most powerful frequency is, a lot of you will say it's love, but actually it's been known now that it is authenticity. Authenticity is the most powerful frequency because it allows all other forms of high frequency states, like love, joy, and peace, to be real and sustainable. If you think about it, love without authenticity becomes manipulation and codependency and people pleasing. But authenticity, even when it's messy or uncomfortable, it liberates the soul and it truly opens the heart. Authenticity makes you magnetic. It means that you're aligned with your core self. You're no longer performing, pleasing, or pretending. It's scientifically proven that when you live in alignment with your truth, you radiate from your core self, from coherence. That's why authentic people are often described as glowing or confident or real. Coherence is a state where your mind, body, and soul are all working together. They're synchronized like an orchestra playing in tune. But it's not just poetic, it's measurable. The Heart Math Institute has shown that when you're in a state of genuine love, appreciation, or truth, your heart rhythm becomes smooth and harmonious. This is a state called cardiac coherence. This rhythm then influences your brainwaves, your nervous system, your emotional state, and your hormones. When your heart, mind, and body are in alignment, you feel that. You speak with conviction, you sit up taller, your presence becomes magnetic, and your actions feel natural, not forced. You can see this coherence playing out in real life. Think of a time when you told the truth even though you thought it was scary, but it brought you a great sense of relief. Or a time that you were in love or in awe and your whole body softened. Or a time that you made a choice that reflected your values and your energy lifted. That's coherence. It feels like flow, energy, vitality, everything this channel is about. So subscribe. Here's a great controversial point. Authenticity means returning to nature over nurture. It means returning to the objective truth over my truth. So, nature is how you've been made. It's your soul's design, it's your biology. And nurture is your conditioning, it's your experiences, your beliefs. So, we see nature as the potential, and nurture is the sculptor of that potential. It's how far you actually get to go. And what makes you go is that intention that makes you activate change. It's your conscious choices. So, your capacity to be conscious and aware of where you're going and how you're getting there is your capacity to have that power, that healing, that growth, and that change. That is your awareness. Every action that we take is based on a need. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Where do you believe you are? Are you mostly meeting your physiological needs, this being survival mode, getting a roof over your head, paying the bills, getting enough hours of sleep, feeling rested, and getting just enough food and nutrition into your body? Or are you closer to self actualization, able to be of service, fulfill your purpose in the world, and feel that you're leaving a legacy on this planet? You can watch this video to find out more about how to leave survival mode. Being a woman of virtue and vitality means that you know deeply that your biology plays to your strengths. So the closer that you can mold your way of perceiving the world with the way that things are, the more you can rid yourself of fantasy and get closer to reality, the stronger you will naturally be and the more vitality you will have. The more energy, the more chi, the more life force you will have. In a world full of relativism like my truth and your truth, misinformation, emotional reasoning, holding to objective truth is essential for integrity, moral clarity, justice, spiritual grounding. God is the source of all objective truth, and anything that contradicts God's design or moral law is false, even if culturally accepted. That is what you're agreeing with when you subscribe to this channel. John 8:31-32 reminds us that Jesus said, "If you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." John 14:6 says, "Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me." And so we see that walking in the Spirit, living in the light, living by the word, and abiding in it by being obedient to what the word says is instruction for a life that is going to be healthy and happy and fulfilling, versus walking by however way we want to according to our own hearts and our own truths, because the objective truth will set us free when we walk by it. Objective truth is not what you feel is true. It's what remains true when no one is looking. The field of epigenetics considers that our genes give us a predisposition, but our environment determines when these genes are expressed. For example, a child may have a genetic tendency for anxiety, but with secure attachment and safe caregiving, that trait may never become a disorder. While epigenetics is closer to nature than many other medical mindsets, I consider German New Medicine, or what the Spanish call la medicina sagrada, or sacred medicine, to be nature and the objective truth alongside the Word of God, which is why this is about virtue and vitality. German New Medicine is the map to understanding what our symptoms are communicating. It's like an operating system for our bodies. It points us in the direction of the experiences we had in our lives that weighed us down along the way so that we can look at them, see the truth, and let them go. If you have a chronic symptom, I encourage you to book a vitality call. The link is in the description below. I don't give medical advice, but I help you see things the way that they are versus the way that you want to see them. You can also listen to the linked podcast if you want an introduction to GNM. Funnily enough, the only way to get to nature is through nurture. A big part of walking in the spirit and the light over darkness and the flesh is by being honest. Therefore, authenticity means closing the inauthenticity gap between the self and the ego. The ego actually costs us energy to exist. The ego is the lies and the stories that we tell for something to appear a certain way. It's to keep the wounded parts of ourselves alive. The ego is the part of us that we want to see, which means that we're not seeing all of who we are. That's what fragments our wholeness. Whereas the self is actually what's beneath this cloak of ego. Our wholeness, our entirety, and our light is right there. So while ego is what you are conscious of being and accept about yourself, self is your unconscious, what you reject and shame. What's important to note here is the conscious runs 5% of what you do, who you are, and the subconscious runs 95%. So the more that you can be aware of the subconscious, the better. The subconscious mind is actually the body. This is why dropping from the mind, which is so masculine, into the body, which is feminine, and reconnecting to the body through somatic practices and learning how our body speaks with us with GNM is so essential. It is human nature to have a gap between the self and the ego. I don't think there's ever a time that disappears. But how large that gap is determined by how much you want to see and accept about who you are. The inauthenticity gap widens or shrinks depending on the amount of blind spots that fill it. Do you see yourself the same way that other people can see you? Or do they see things that you don't want to see? Becoming more authentic is directly correlated to how honest we are with ourselves about who we are in every instance and what we really want without judgment. A big part of being more authentic is owning your emotions without shame. Denying anger, sadness, or even joy is actually denying a part of your truth. You can ask yourself, what emotions am I afraid to express? What stories do I tell myself about those feelings? Because how you associate meaning is what you will see as your self-concept and identity. You can also watch this video to learn more about how to accept your emotions. You are the sum of your decisions. I know that if I'm not happy with the decisions I'm making, there's no way I'm happy with the life I am living. So make every decision based on your core values to be more authentic. Self-doubt is the opposite of ownership. Ownership is to move confidently with everything. So own the decisions you're making when you base them on the core values that you have. There are 3 signs to know something is a core value. 1, you feel most alive when you're embodying it. 2, you feel deep guilt or frustration when you betray it. And 3, you're naturally drawn to people or experiences that reflect it. So how to discover your core values? Reflect on peak moments. Think of 2 to 3 moments in your life when you felt truly alive and happy and at peace. Ask, What values were being honored in those moments? And to help you out, I've made this list for reference. Highlight the ones that resonate viscerally, not just the ones that you think you should value. Then narrow them down to 5 to 7. Ask, what feels like home in my body when I live it out? Also, reflect on painful moments. Think of times where you felt deeply resentful, frustrated, or hurt. You can ask, what felt violated or dismissed? That is what often points to a core value being disrespected. Also, explore your admiration and envy. Who do you admire and why? Who triggers jealousy in you and what do they represent? Because jealousy is actually an opportunity and an invitation to be more like them. What value do they embody that I'm craving or suppressing? You know that you're being more authentic when you weigh it up against, does it serve who I am by the end of it? Does it give me more energy when I'm finished with that habit? Think of the habits that comprise your day to day and weigh up, does it give me more energy? Am I serving the Lord or am I serving the enemy? Does it actually drain me? Remember, you're always searching for a long term investment with your energy. This isn't, is it pleasant for me to do in the moment, like sitting down on the sofa and watching a movie? This is, have I earned it? Therefore, do I not feel guilty when I'm doing that? There are so many benefits to living authentically. When you commit to authenticity, you'll notice that you have deeper relationships rooted in truth. No more performance. You'll have greater nervous system regulation and emotional safety. You'll have greater clarity around what you want and what you no longer tolerate. Stronger self respect and self trust follows. You'll have more ease and joy and radiance in your day to day life. And you'll have so much less second guessing and greater confidence in decision making. Even your biology responds every time. Authenticity boosts oxytocin and dopamine, and it keeps you in homeostasis, the place where you are most alive, radiant, and full of vitality. You were never meant to contort yourself to be loved. Your softness and power can coexist. I always say, have the strength it takes to be soft. Your clarity and compassion are not in conflict, and your truth is not too much. It's the way to nature. Start nurturing it by being real. Your most radiant self is waiting just on the other side. Subscribe to that newsletter to get that information on Goodbye Good Girl, the course coming up soon. And until next week, as my Oma always said, harden not your heart, love and serve each other.